Welcome to Baby Boy Mulligan's Guitars, Mods, and Music. And today we've got a Squier mini bass on the bench. One of my buddies from the Vet Center band, wanted me to work on this guitar for him and get it all set up, fix it up. His saddles were all out of whack, and his pickups were too high. His action was too high because his pickups were too high. It still had the plastic on it. And this is used, I guess, because it had been played. So I did condition the fretboard because that was crazy dry. I already reset the saddles because I had an issue with my camera and the sound, so I had to get rid of the video. But I did reset those. I set the intonation. I set the pickup height. I took the plastic off. I tightened the pots, the nuts on the pots, to make sure that they look good. There is a little play in these, but there's no noise in the pots, so those will eventually have to get replaced. But it's an inexpensive Fender, Squier. So the fret ends are a little sharp, and I started working on those. So these down here are done. I need to do everything up here. I also tightened up the tuning pegs because all of the nuts were loose and he was losing, tune. That's why he was losing tune. So that's been repaired. Just tightened up. Truss rod is good. Good neck relief. Don't need to fix that. So that's kind of what's been done and what we're working on. And we're going to polish these frets and get them up to par because they're not, bad, but they're just a little scratchy. They're not, the frets themselves aren't bad, but they need a polish. They're old. And that should be it. So please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And tell me what you think when we're done with the video. Let's get working on this. All right, so like I said, I've done to here so far. And all we're doing is just taking the fret ends and doing a little file. And then I'm taking the rounded side, going like this because these edges are sharp. Where they were cut, they were never, inexpensive guitar, typical, especially at Squier. I mean, for that, they might as well just throw some ball-end frets on here. Be easier for the beginners. This is the entry-level guitars. And that one's pretty good. More right there. It's a little on that angle. Done. And on to the next. Get that. And done. Quick and easy. That's how we're going to do this. It's a little rougher. There we go. No, still needs a little bit more. Look at that. That's like stuck on there. I want to lift the fret. That just shows you how sharp these fret edges are. I mean, you can literally get caught right on them. Like that one. I mean, you need a lot of force. So those are the ones you want to start down and then go up. There you go. Good to go. That one's a little sharp on top, so we'll get that a little. And there we go. And you just test them as you go. But you don't need to watch all that. So I'll be back. All right, so the board is all taped up. And we are ready to do the frets. Get the gloves on. This is going to be a dirty job. And of course, with this, you got to use all kinds of tape. If you don't have the board protector for bass, which I don't have, which I need to get because I do have 2 normal scale basses. But for a short scale like this, I don't really, need to go buy one. But we're going to work on these frets. And see, this is where you can see there was a couple of little bends from whoever had this before playing it. But we don't want to go crazy on these because they're not big anyway, even for a bass. But that's good. I'm just going to do the 400. It's my usual 4, 6, 8,000, 1,200, and then 15, 2,000, and 3,000. I'm doing these a little different than my normal frets because they're very small. First of all, they're not a standard size fret for a bass. They're more like a guitar fret. They're more like jumbo guitar frets. Well, maybe medium to jumbo. So with these heavier grits, the 400, I'm going to go, just enough to get out anything that's on here. All right, that's the 4. And we do the 6. I got a little bit more right there on the side. Got a ding in it, just on the side. There we go. And almost there. This is the boring part. But now, this is for C.D. Nelson. When you set these bass strings on the height, I like to set them at a 2. Because if you're slapping, popping, playing with a pick, 2's the sweet spot. You can play anything you want. Down. So that's the idea that we came up with to do the, instead of giving it away to a veteran, because every veteran we know has got a guitar or something, or the means. And we figured this way, if we give the veteran's guitar away with a raffle, we can use that money to get some better equipment, some better mics, and some better new chords and things like that. Maybe a new drum set if we, cymbals, like, because we don't have a whole lot of cymbals. We're going to add a couple cymbals, things like that. So that's just a cool thing, I threw out there, and the guys really liked the idea. So that's how we're going to do that guitar. And you can watch that video. That's in my older videos from a couple months ago. The guitar build itself. It's got those Invader style single coil pickups. They sound amazing. Really great. I'm really happy that they entertained that and thought that was a good idea, because that can get actually advertised on the radio, because this will get advertised on the radio too. Bigger local venue. So hopefully we'll have a big turnout on a Sunday afternoon. And the final one. And we got some really cool stuff upcoming on the channel. I've got those 3 guitar builds. I've actually got a dual rail humbucker for a Stratocaster that are going to be some of the pickups that RJ is going to be carrying in his store. So I'm going to actually put that in a guitar. I'm going to swap some pickups. And then the middle pickup on that guitar, I'm actually going to send off to Malachi, because he needed the Mad Hatter, he needed a middle pickup for one of his guitars. So one of the ones I'm harvesting from this guitar and replacing it with some other pickups, I'm going to send to him, because I know it's a decent pickup. All right, now I get to take all this stuff off. That's the fun part. This is why you always leave one side folded up. So easy. And this is why I bought the guards for the guitars, because I hate taping these up. I don't mind taking them off. They come off quick. But I hate taping them up. And I hate when they do that. And now, I gotta play with this. Might as well just leave that out. These smaller ones can be a pain. Now that's gonna make a liar out of me. Just because. These shouldn't be too hard to get off. There we go. We're ready to roll. Let's give this one more wipe down. I know there's some dust there. All right. We'll get these strings back on here. There's definitely some wear on that nut, but the nut's actually perfect. So we're not going to mess with that. And I'll shine up the guitar after I play it, and then put it back in its bag to go back to its owner. So let me go and tune this up, and we'll do a demo. Well, I went to test the guitar out, and we got a problem. When the bass string touches the pickup, none of my basses do that. So we got to check for a grounding issue inside the cavity. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so here's what we have. I pulled off the pick guard. Look at this jagged edge right here. Fender, what are you doing in Indonesia? This is an Indonesian made. What is this? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like they chewed it up to fit some of the electronics in there. Route it, touch it up. Man, that's wrong. Then we got this little thing here for a ground. It doesn't even go to the nice big bridge. So, I mean, this is shielding paint, but it isn't very good. So, we're going to remedy this, and hopefully it will fix the problem. Let me reposition the camera, and we'll go from there. Okay, so what I've done here is I've shielded the base where the screw is going to go into, and hopefully this bigger amount of connectivity will ground this better. I'm also using a bigger screw, and we're going to put this back in here and give it a little more metal. Bigger screw. Bigger amount of metal surface. There, time to go for this. Getting lots of tools in here. My hand is blocking everything. Hold on. Reposition. All right, so that's got more metal surface now to be grounded to. So I'm going to hope that fixes the problem. We're going to find out here, and then I'll plug this in, and we're going to see. That noise you hear in the background is my terrible electric, because that amp's plugged right in and not into a filtered like my other amp is. See, these are in between. This is the problem here with this, the way this pickup is positioned. And if that hits it, if you're playing and you hit that, there's not much I can do about that. But the guitar is quieter with this done this way. So it's still an improvement, just not the improvement I was hoping for. Let's see, can we get that over a little bit more? We can do it that way. I'd have to re-intonate, but maybe we can do this. Slide those over just a little bit more. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so between those two things, maybe we can get this thing straight. Yep, and there's still enough meat here to play. Okay, so that's the fix. All right, I'm going to put this back together and then we'll demo it. All right, so let's demo this little bass. Now you will hear a little bit of background noise because my amp is plugged into a regular outlet, and apparently there's a little kind of noise coming out of the bass amp, which when I have it through a protected surge protector with a filter on it, I don't get that. But anyway, let's play this little guy. That's just so I didn't get a copyright. So you can still get that pop out of this. And here's a song that I wrote many, many years ago with a friend of mine, my old guitarist in my band. Perfectly intonated. That's the way to check it. If you can play bass chords. So, she's in working order. Volume works. And that's actually goes right almost to the bass. So they're pretty good. I mean, they're a little wonky, but they're, you know, it's an inexpensive guitar. The tone works. So that's the first time it's done that. So we're going to spray a little deoxit in there, and both of those, just to be safe. I am going to ask the owner if he wants me to replace this jack, because it does do that. So I can replace that with a like a pure tone style jack with the 4 connections. I did do the fret ends on this a little bit, not crazy, didn't have to do a lot. I did tighten up the nuts on the tuners because those were loose. That's why he was losing tune. I reset the intonation. I set the string height to 2, which is what I like for a bass, because you can slap, you can pluck, you can play with your thumb, you can play fingers, you can play with a pick. Yeah, that's what I like about it. And I fixed that issue So now this is between every string like it's supposed to be, which I showed you in the video. I took this all off. I had to fix the ground because there was a little grounding issue. That did work. I did have to actually take the wires on the volume pot and spread them because I was getting intermittent noise. It would play and then it would go out. It was actually because the little studs that stick up to get the that you put the wires to. I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember the name of the little things on the potentiometer right now. But I spread those and got that all situated so that that's not doing that anymore. But this cord does, kind of pop. It works, but it kind of pops up. It's definitely a cheapy one. I do have some better regular jacks, so I'm going to ask him if he wants me to just throw one in there for nothing, or put the pure tone in there. So that's it for this guitar. It will get that one little fix there with the tone pot because that was a little scratchy. Now it's not doing it, but if it's got a little scratch at any point, you want to put some deoxit in there. Oh, I also did the pickup heights. I set the pickup heights because they were just way high. That's why the action was so high. I think that about covers the guitar. But thank you for watching Baby Boy Mulligan's Guitars, Mods, and Music. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next one. Rock on.